Hello, my people. Good day to you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whatever time zone you've been listening to this, thank you for tuning in every single day to listen to me on Daily Mind Shift. My name is Michael Ujola from Mindset Transformation Africa, and on today's episode, I want to talk about prompt, and triggers. Let me anchor today's episode on this statement. Remove the prompt, and the unwanted behavior dies by starvation. Remove the prompt and the unwanted behavior dies by starvation. Every behavior, good or bad, has a starting point, has a starting signal. Nothing just happens. Every habit has a trigger. Every reaction has a cue. Every response has a reminder. You don't scroll mindlessly on your phone because you love it that much. You scroll because something prompted you, maybe boredom, maybe a notification, maybe just seeing your phone light up. The same goes for overeating, for gossiping, procrastinating, overspending, overthinking, just name it. The behavior is not a problem. The trigger, the prompt is. And the truth is, most people spend their lives fighting behaviors that only exist because they keep feeding the trigger, they keep feeding the prompt. They keep wrestling with what they should have simply starved. You cannot stop what you keep triggering. You cannot stop what you keep feeding. Let's be honest. We've been taught to rely on willpower as if it's a bottomless resource. We think, I'll just stop doing it. I'll just stop. But that is not how the mind works. Willpower is like a battery. It drains fast. You cannot depend on it to carry you through habits that have like deep cues attached to them. Because your brain doesn't respond to intention. It responds to stimulus. If the prompt if the trigger stays with you, the behavior stays in you. If the prompt goes out of you, the behavior dies naturally. You don't need more self-control. You need fewer triggers. You don't need to fight every urge. You need to remove what keeps calling the urge back to you. Let's be practical. If you're trying to eat better, don't keep junk food within arm's reach. If you're trying to think clearer, don't start your morning with social media noise. If you're trying to stop reacting angrily, don't keep entering conversations that provoke your ego. Remove the prompt and watch your unwanted behavior lose its appetite. See, everything you repeatedly do is a feeder. Is an energy source. For some, that energy source is environment. For others, it is memory. A person, a sound, a time of the day triggers a response. Your brain is constantly pairing experiences. It remembers where it got its dopamine fix from. It remembers what gave it escape, pleasure, validation, or relief. So when that same prompt shows up again, even slightly, the brain whispers to you, oh, I know this feeling. Here's what we will do. And you're back in the loop. But when the brain cannot find its familiar cue, it doesn't know what to do. And that is your opportunity to build something new. And that is the science behind the statement, remove the prompt and the unwanted behavior will die by starvation. Because every habit, whether it is smoking, complaining, or checking your phone, it needs to be fed by oxygen. It needs oxygen. And oxygen comes from triggers. It comes from prompt. Take away the oxygen and the flame will naturally fade. It will naturally die. Some prompts are obvious. Maybe your fridge, for those that loves to snack. Your phone, the notification ping. But others are emotional. Others are situational. And those are the dangerous ones. Stress is a prompt. Loneliness is a prompt. Comparison is a prompt. Boredom is a prompt. When people say, I don't know why I did it, it is usually because they did not recognize what triggered them emotionally. Let me paint a picture. Someone says they are addicted to checking their ex's profile. The prompt is not curiosity. It is loneliness or regret. Remove that loneliness and the compulsion weakens. Or someone keeps spending money impulsively. The prompt is not the product that he or she buys. It is the emotional rush that makes them feel in control again. Remove the environment that rewards that feeling and spending loses the excitement. If you can name the prompt, you can disarm it. If you cannot name the prompt, you will keep feeding it unconsciously because you don't even know what is triggering you. Now, let's make this clear, right? When I say starve the behavior, I don't mean suppress it. Suppression says don't think about it. Starvation says don't feed it. Suppression is resistance, okay? And resistance gives strength to what you are resisting. Whatever you resist will persist. Starvation is wisdom, and wisdom removes the supply. For example, if your trigger is being around negative conversations, starvation means you quietly leave those circles. If your trigger is the TV remote that leads to hours of wasted time, starvation means you put the remote out of reach totally, or you unplug the device altogether. If your trigger is late night scrolling, starvation means your phone sleeps outside your room. You are not fighting your habits, you are outsmarting them. When you build a life that doesn't keep prompting your weaknesses, your energy automatically flows towards your strength. That is how transformation becomes natural. It's not forced, it becomes natural. Here's something people really talk about, okay? Your habits are not moral, they are economical. They exist because they pay you something. This is not a moralistic conversation. Even the ones you hate, even the habits that you hate, it pays you something. It's purely economics. There is a reward. Even if it is short-lived, the brain doesn't judge you. It just repeats what brings quick relief to you. That is why unwanted habits cannot just be stopped. They must be replaced. You cannot just tell your brain to stop chasing dopamine. No, you have to offer it a new way to earn that same dopamine. That is where small intentional replacements comes in. You don't just remove the trigger, you replace them with better ones. If stress is your trigger for overeating, replace that prompt with a walk, with journaling, with breathing. If boredom triggers distraction, replace it with creation. Do something that stimulates you but adds value to you. If loneliness triggers destructive texting, replace it with connection. Call somebody who can uplift you. Have a discussion with them. When you replace the triggers, when you replace the prompt, the old habit starves. Without you even realizing it, it starves. Let's talk a little bit about the environment. All right, because it is not neutral. It is either your environment is feeding you or is draining you. Most people think their environment reflects who they are, but in truth, it shapes who you become. Your surroundings are full of triggers and full of prompts. Look around your home, your workspace, your phone. Each one is either inviting you to rise or a trap for you to regress. If your workstation is cluttered, your mind will prompt you to be distracted. If your phone is loaded with notifications, your mind will prompt you to start doing comparison. If your evenings are unstructured, your mind will prompt indulgence. You cannot live in a prompt-filled environment and expect peace of mind. No, that is why small environmental changes often produce massive behavioral shift. Not because your willpower got stronger, but because your triggers got weaker. If you want a simpler life, build simpler surroundings. If you want fewer distractions, remove the digital noise. If you want to think better, clean up what your eyes keep landing on. You cannot always control your emotions, but you can control your environment, and that is where real power lies. Let's be honest. It is not lack of awareness that keeps people stuck. It is attachment. You don't just cling to the behavior. You cling to the trigger because it gives you comfort. It gives you familiarity. It gives you predictability. That is why breaking free feels like loss at first. It is not the behavior that is hard to release. It is the identity tied to it. You've been that version of you for so long that removing the prompt feels like removing a part of yourself. But here's the truth as I draw this episode to a close. You cannot evolve without shedding. You cannot shed when you keep touching. All right, if you want to outgrow something, don't keep visiting its reminders. Don't hang around the people, the playlists, the patterns, the places that bring the old version of you back to life. Old you doesn't need more closure. It needs less attention. And the less you attend to those prompts, the faster they die of neglect. That is how starvation works. Do you understand me? That is how starvation works. So here's your mind shift for today. Stop being a prisoner of your prompts. become the architect